I had a case where it was an attempted murder. We were discussing a cell phone, and the cell phone had the alleged victim's blood on it. And I said, okay, well, where's the cell phone now? And the officer goes, I gave it back. And I
Hmm.
said, you gave it back to who? And she said, I gave it back to the alleged victim. And if we're all not pausing here, it's because we've not watched enough Dateline. You cannot just give evidence back to the victim.
Woo! Welcome one, welcome all to your space for everything empowerment. I am your host, Tariq Williams, and not only I am Vision of Hope, but it is we are Vision of Hope. We're uplifting people out here, everybody. We're uplifting, we're finding different ways to build our community, grow as individuals every single day, live our dreams. Because you know what we talk about here on the podcast. People are going to tell you that your dreams are out of reach. The person that you want to be is out of reach, but I'll tell you that you are already that person. It's just time to go make it happen. And so today I have another amazing individual here joining us on the podcast today. She's going to tell us a bit about her story, how she got to where she is today, and just ultimately the great impact she's having in her communities and just living the life that she wants to live. So without further ado, I am introducing you all today to criminal defense attorney Christine Martin. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely, for sure. And you are my favorite lawyer, criminal defense attorney on social media, just so you know.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We try to keep it fun, keep it real.
Keep it fun, keep it real, but more than anything though, I think and you remain yourself. You stay true to who you are. And I think that's really what we try to also just present here in the podcast, the importance of being you no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, I feel like I was on social media a few years ago and I really struggled with like the authentic component. And
Mm,
I think now when I post, I care a lot less about everything being perfect.
mm,
And I just try to speak to my communities in the only way that I know how. Um, and I was watching the other day, someone was talking about like your followers are a mirror. They're like a reflection of who you are. If you are giving yourself, then the followers will come. And like I really enjoyed that. And I feel like that describes kind of where I'm at right now
yeah.
with my social media journey.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I mean, you don't necessarily find a lot of, at least I don't know, not in my algorithm. I don't really find a lot of defense attorneys, you know what I mean, kind of speaking the truth. I get a lot of mindset stuff, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of the people like, oh, lawyer this, lawyer that. There's so many different connotations of what a lawyer is or what a criminal defense attorney is. And we're gonna kind of figure that out today with you.
Yeah. So I feel like online there's a very small community of lawyers that do post, and I'm
Mhm.
hoping that we can get more disabled lawyers posting and get more exposure to like our experiences. And hopefully, the world will see like being an attorney is a place that, a disabled person can be or a blind person can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll definitely get into that in your story as you currently being a practicing defense attorney and in the process of losing your eyesight. So we're going to discuss that, but before we get into all those different things in your story that the audience is super excited to hear about how you continue to empower yourself along your journey, language is very important to the podcast. So, my question for you is what is one word that describes why you wanted to be a lawyer in the first place?
So, one word that would describe why I wanted to be a lawyer in the first place is definitely passion. I feel like when I am standing up in front of the judge or in front of the jury, I feel like there's a fire inside of me and it helps me really push through into representing my client to the best of my ability.
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so when you see yourself, so let's go into the courtroom for a second, okay? You mentioned passion being your word there and what that means to you. I guess so when you step in the courtroom and you discuss and you're defending your clients and whatever that looks like, what are some of the things you're starting to tell yourself from the beginning? What's the mindset you have to get in to be able to do your job the best that you can?
Yeah. So in the morning, I have a morning routine
Mm,
that helps me get into the mindset. So the first thing I do is meditate for 10 minutes. And then I created my own personal affirmations. So I do personal affirmations that help with any negative self-talk that I have throughout the day. And then I exercise, I do some visualization, and then I do some reading and writing. And that's all before I eat breakfast. And
wow.
yeah, this is a new routine that I just started this year. And it really helps me remain focused while I'm in court, while I'm standing in front of the judge and listen and hear rather than, being in my head and thinking, oh, like, what am I going to say next?
Okay. Public service announcement. Aren't you tired of it? Aren't you sick of it? Aren't you just done with feeling stuck? Aren't you done with not really knowing what you want out of your life, your purpose? And then, even if you do know, what are the goals you need to get there? Enter in the Clarity Code, the one-on-one coaching program for working professionals and entrepreneurs to recognize their value and truly overcome that burnout, but get clear and get the action plan you need to be successful and tap into your true potential. One-on-one coaching program, group coaching calls, recognize your vision, problem-solving mindset course. All those things wrapped into one particular program so you get what you need to stop building somebody else's dream and start building your own. Comment, direct message me. Links are everywhere. Let's get in touch. Let's make it happen and start building your dream. Because guess what? The world is going to tell you that it's unattainable. The world might tell you that it's too far. But in your heart, you know it's your purpose. And I'm here to guide you along the way. Let's get it. The Clarity Code. Okay, so this is really interesting. I've done a podcast episode about this a long time ago, and it came up in my podcast last week, actually. So, or a couple weeks ago now. But morning routines, believe it or not, as a mindset person and someone who believes in somebody figuring out what is they need for them to be successful, my issue with morning routines sometimes is that sometimes people believe that it has to be a specific thing and we all do that same thing as their morning routine.
Yeah.
But it seems like you found something that works for you. How did you find that routine to get you in the right mindset to be the lawyer that you are every single day?
Yes, so I read this book called The Miracle Morning, and
Mhm.
that's where I got all of the steps. But I broke it down into, digestible pieces that I was able to do on a smaller scale.
Mhm.
So I just really took my time. Like, I tried to do it for 30 days, and then I hit the 30 days and I had only missed 2 days. And
Mhm.
I realized how much more positive that I was feeling. So,
Mhm.
whatever, your morning routine is, it doesn't matter if everyone's doing the same thing. It's putting yourself in that mindset of being positive, feeling positive, and doing confident, easy things for you. Like, when I'm in the courtroom, I want to be able to communicate without, letting my emotions get to me. I want to be able to feel confidence. And
Mhm.
it's that time in the morning that I give to myself to be able to get into the mindset where I can focus without external issues.
Yeah. Yeah. So we touched on this a little bit. Um, but no, all my listeners know that I'm blind. I became blind at the age of 16 and really developed my mindset to be able to be the best version of myself possible, to be the mindset coach that really can deliver results for my clients. Now, you walk into the courtroom and you walk in with like your cane and you are I guess my question is like do you feel confident when you walk into a courtroom and with your white cane in hand?
I feel like when I first started, it was a really long conversation that I had to have with myself, with people at the Braille Institute, with friends and family to convince myself to bring the cane to court. Because once you bring the cane, Orange County is very small and Orange County criminal defense is very small. Everybody knows each other.
Mm,
So I knew once I brought the cane, it wasn't like I didn't feel comfortable not bringing it.
mm,
Even if I was having a good day, I'd rather just get to a point where, we're bringing it every day and that's the routine.
mm,
And so after the conversations, one of my friends said, she said, next year you're going to be using your cane all the time and you're going to laugh about it because it was such a huge conversation and now it's going to feel like nothing. So we're at the point now where it feels like nothing. I walk into court. Sometimes my clients know before I come into court that I'm blind and what to expect, and sometimes they don't. But one client said that when he was told I was blind, he thought some little old lady who was 80 was gonna come in with a blind cane, and
mm,
I wore like a bright pink suit that day. I was wearing a black shirt and my cane's pink, my nails were done. I walked in and he's like, "You walked in with swag. I didn't have to worry about, you being blind because it wasn't an issue the moment you walked in."
mm,
So I think I've gotten to a point where I'm so comfortable with walking with my cane and moving around a courtroom. And luckily, all these courtrooms I've been going to for 6, 7 years at this point. So
mhm,
I know all the navigation of each room. So I don't have to take guesses or, be unsure. I already know the layout of what things are going to be like. So I can navigate with confidence and it helps other people feel confident in my ability.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, I love that. Right now we're in this part of the podcast where we're really discussing how you show up in the office, right? How you show up in the courtroom. And I think more than anything, though, we're talking about the confidence that you're bringing to any situation. I think a lot of times when people think about white canes and blindness and all that, they think about, oh, that person has a cane. They need all this help. Like it almost, and sometimes people may even think that it's a sign of weakness. And that
Mhm.
couldn't be further from the truth. You have decided and have owned, your situation, as have I, to be, hey, this is me when I walk out the door, and I am who I am, and I'm going to show up as my confident self. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of me. And so I think the message here for anybody that's listening, whatever it is you have going on, I think ultimately, I guess here's the question. Like as an individual, I think that you give yourself confidence by practicing and doing the thing, but you only lose confidence. Like nobody can take away your confidence. You could take away your own confidence and what the different things you have going on mean to you. What are your thoughts on that?
So I feel like is the question like you can take away your confidence and like how do I prevent that?
Yeah, I guess it's more internal, right?
Okay.
Like the fact that confidence truly comes from within.
Okay. So I had when I first started engaging in the blind community, I really found like so much confidence from support. So I don't know if I necessarily found like the confidence within
Mm,
until I surrounded myself with the support. And even watching you, I remember I saw you on stage with your cane. And I constantly think about like being in front of a jury or something, like, can I do it with my cane? And you just had it like right in your hand, like casually, and you had the mic. And seeing those things, like being a part of that community, helps create the confidence within because we're constantly seeing each other do amazing, wonderful, beautiful things. And we also want to do amazing, wonderful, beautiful things because we see, you know, other people in our community doing it.
yeah, yeah, wow. Um, I'm sorry for our video audience. Not I. That I appreciate you. I appreciate you, and it was just me being me. You know what I mean? And I kind of recognize that in what you're doing as well. It's just you being you. You show up so authentically yourself on social media. I'm sure you do the same thing when you're in the courtroom and just giving and delivering the best services for your clients. So when it comes to then you showing up as the best defense attorney you possibly can. Um, Walk us through, some moments where you've been able to just give some very strong impact in the office. Because here's the thing, we're focusing a lot on blindness here a little bit, but ultimately, you know, at the end of the day, blind or not, you're a defense attorney. Tell us about some impact that you're making in the courtroom.
So one of my very first contested bail motions, and contested just means that both parties uh, are combating over what the amount is. It was like a serious assault with a deadly weapon. I think my client stabbed another guy in the eye. It was something really terrible. But when I went in, I was very prepared on the case. I knew the facts very well. And I knew one key piece of information was the fact that the DA didn't file the case until a year and a couple months. So the main thing when it comes to bail is whether the client is a flight risk, whether they're going to run away, or whether there is a danger to public safety. And now there's a financial component. But for this case, a person who's charged with with a deadly weapon, that's a very serious, dangerous case to the public. But when the DA takes their time when filing a case, that was my pitch to the judge. I said, hey, listen, my client's been walking around for a year and a month and he hasn't committed any other heinous crime. He's very young. There's other ways, like we can reduce the bail amount to a lower amount and he can be able to bail out without being a danger because he's walking around this entire time. If the people of California, the prosecution, if they wanted to show the court that he was a danger, they would have filed this case right away. And
Hmm.
so the judge set the bail from 50,000 to 15,000. So my
Wow.
client was able to bail out that night and then we were able to litigate the case with him out of custody.
Wow. Wow. That's powerful for sure because enabled to once again make sure that, and I think that speaks to how society and all these things should work. Like I think checks and balances are important, right? Make sure that the I's are dotted where they need to be dotted and the T's are crossed where they need to be crossed, right? Like, and once again, then showing like, hey, like this situation and being able to make sure that everybody's doing everything properly and you showing up for your client in that way. I think that's really great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think sometimes a lot of times when it comes to and real quick, you're educating me currently, okay? I'm not gonna pretend to be uh any type of pundit on law or courtrooms or anything like that, right? But I do understand the importance of making sure that things are getting done the way they need to get done and making sure that everybody's hold or held accountable and whatever that looks like. So I think that's really neat and being able to show the impact and the importance of what a criminal defense attorney can do. Um, and so I guess when you think about that impact and you think about once again, and I hate to kind of bring your eyesight back into it, do you
It's
feel?
important. It's what I'm living in right now. So it's okay for us to talk about it. This is definitely the space, and you make it a safe space. So good to talk about here.
I appreciate you. So like to bring it back up then, in that moment where you're having these discussions with the judges and everything, do you feel like, or do you ever get weird questions sometimes about like, well, how do you know certain things? Or, just curious to know, like, how do you kind of do you ever get fact checked or questioned while you're discussing in the courtroom?
Yeah. So I I used to wear cocoons. Do you know what cocoons are?
Is that a type of glasses
Yeah,
or
it's like the big glasses that you wear. Um,
okay?
they like cover top and bottom because those are the most comfortable in the courtroom.
Mm,
So that's like a perfect example of like I can't wear those because um people ask way too many questions. Like, oh, is your eyesight doing so poorly today? Or they're
mm,
just like really invasive.
mm,
So that's one of the ways I kind of avoid those situations. But the most of the time people want to know if I can read. They're like, can you read? And I was like, yeah, I can read. I'm a lawyer. It's
mm,
my
mm,
job. Um, Judges wise, the first time I ever wore sunglasses in court, a judge was like, "Are those prescription?" And I was like, "Yes." And then I like ran into the hallway and I was like crying in like the back near the judges' chambers because it was literally the first time that
Wow.
I put on my sunglasses. And it was in judges' chambers where the sun was like directly in my eyeballs. Like
Mm,
I saw white. So I was like, I need my sunglasses or else I won't be able to be here. But
mm,
I wasn't using my cane. And so it didn't alert people to like the severity. So I feel like once I started using my cane and navigating, people actually had more confidence in me because they knew like, oh, this is um something that's going on, but obviously she's handling it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to understand that we're all different, right? So whatever it is you got to do, if it's an accommodation or like the morning routine that you mentioned that really got you in the frame of mind that you needed to get into to be the best lawyer that you could be, I think is fantastic. And so if it's sunglasses or whatever it might be, put yourself in the situation that you need to be in to be successful. I love that. Um, so as as a defense attorney, then there's obviously a bunch of different situations, and I think that when we are discussing your day to day, what is some advice that you're giving to clients or even to people on a day to day basis to be able to make sure we are all law abiding citizens, let's say?
My favorite question is how do I get away with the DUI? And I always
Okay.
answer the same way is don't drink and drive.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the advice that I give is hindsight 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So, when people get pulled over for a DUI, there is ways to navigate to reduce the possibility of you getting arrested. But at the end of the day, if you are drinking and driving, you're likely going to get a DUI that day,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to continue to drink and drive and get a DUI another day.
Yeah.
So that's one piece of advice that I give all the time. The second is your the outcome of your case is up to you. So I can come over here and I can do all this lawyering, but at the end of the day, if we are trying to negotiate a misdemeanor from a serious felony case and we're not getting that misdemeanor, the client's going to be the one who has to decide, okay, I'm going to take the felony or I'm going to go to the preliminary hearing or I'm going to go to the trial. So those are two pieces of evidence that I give pretty frequently.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's start going into then in your role then, have you ever come across any situations where there has been like some significant things with police and police may have doing things maybe they could have been better in a particular situation?
So my job as a defense attorney is,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to police, is finding all the inconsistencies in their report. And how I can do that are several different ways. One of them is reading the report, listening to audio, watching body worn cameras. And one of the biggest ways in a felony case is to bring it to what's called preliminary hearing. So I had an attempted murder case that I brought to preliminary hearing, and the standard is very low at preliminary hearing. It's kind of a mini trial before the trial to make sure the proper charges were filed against this person.
Mhm.
So the prosecutor brings in one or two officers, and those officers testify. It's usually the lead investigator. So I had a case where it was an attempted murder. It was a very serious case, and I was going through just general questions about things that were not necessarily in the police report, but were relevant to know. So I'm
Mhm.
going down the list, and I'm like, we were discussing a cell phone, and the cell phone had the alleged victim's blood on it. So I was asking about the cell phone, and I said, okay, well, where's the cell phone now? And the officer goes, I gave it back. And I
Mm.
said, you gave it back to who? And she said, I gave it back to the alleged victim. And if we're all not pausing here, it's because we've not watched enough Dateline. You cannot just give evidence back to the victim because they said, pretty please, can I have it? That
Mhm.
needs to stay in an evidence locker, and there needs to be like documents on chain of command where this piece of evidence has gone, how it was tested. So so I'm just finding out now, sitting in this preliminary hearing, that bloody evidence was given back to the victim. So
And real quick, you're not just saying bloody evidence as in like a British person saying like bloody evidence. Like this is
no, this is like
actually.
evidence. So my next question was there blood on it? And she goes, yes. I said, you didn't wipe it off? She said, no. And I go, why did you give it back? And she goes, because I contaminated it.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so I was like, you contaminated it. So you thought that the remedy was to give the evidence to the alleged victim. Okay. So we're moving on through this case, and it just keeps getting more horrible. So there were 27 blood spots, and I'm putting blood spots in quotes, that were marked on a piece of paper showing, and then there were pictures of all these said blood spots. And I said, "Did you get these spots tested?" And she goes, "No, the crime lab wouldn't test them." And I go, why didn't the crime lab test them? Because I didn't put in the request for 3 weeks. If you don't know about blood dries up after several hours, maybe even less if it's a small spot. You have to get the crime lab out there right away. So these are just small things in a case that wasn't mentioned in the police report. And if I didn't go through like a general, like, let's talk about where evidence is, I would have never picked that up. So even though I found all these glorious holes in this case and there was like a complete sham of an investigation, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, that client was still held to answer for the attempted murder.
Hmm.
And the reason is because the standard is so low, and the officer basically just has to testify that I think this person committed a crime, and here's why I think that. And the officer did show, enough evidence according to that judge.
Wow. Wow. You know, when I think about that story, which one, I have so many things running through my mind right now.
Right?
Um,
It was real. Like the amount of embarrassment this woman had on her face when she got off on the stand, she couldn't look at anyone. Yeah.
so I'm a big believer, and once again, I think this is a really neat episode because once again, it's going back on my brand and what this podcast is. It's a space for empowerment, people who are making change every day, business owners, lawyers. I've had corporate lawyers on, I've had prosecutors on, and you're the first defense attorney I've had on actually. And so when I think about what this podcast is, I think about what it means to be the best at whatever it is that you do. I think about what it means to be exceptional. I think about what it means to show up and be your best. When I used to teach blind people specifically, I used to have them come into my office and say, listen, whenever you walk into my office, you're going to get 100% of my work ethic. You're going to get my 100% of my best. I just ask for the same in return. And you are definitely embodying what that means. And so I'm bringing that up to say, when it comes to expectations and getting to a particular goal in your life, the difference between expectations and goals. A goal is something that we're striving for. An expectation is something that, hey, I'm expecting you to do these specific things properly so that we can make sure that we live in a good society. So when you think about your expectations every day, or when you think about a police officer's expectations every day, what are some of the things that you're thinking about?
When it comes to expectations for myself, I really try to focus on doing the best advocacy I can for my client. I always make sure their goals are in mind, but I also make sure that the way the case is going is going to be my own. So the expectations I have for myself is just to work hard on every case, be smart about what you're working on, reviewing everything, and being able to properly communicate with clients. My expectation for police officers is a little high because I have to find all the holes in their work. So for police officers, basic things. I expect them to know how to, you know, close out a scene, to, test evidence, have training. I expect them to know, you know, basic human rights. And that's not where we're at right now. We're not at a place where police understand these things or are trained these things. I'm not going to comment on why that is. Maybe if we put more money into training, then, pieces of equipment, then we would have more education and understanding. But most of the police officers who get training only get 1 or 2 days of training on criminal law. And so it's really hard to work on the opposite side when you want, people to be respected, and then you're watching videos and that's not what's happening.
Mm, mm, hmm. Wow. Please excuse me. I'm just so much appreciating the education. So it's I guess, Christine, when I think about making this world a better place, I like to think that we all understand the rights of all humans. Um, all individuals in this world deserve respect. All individuals in this world just deserve, the opportunity to live a life that they want to live, right? Um, and so I guess when I think about, once again, like my brand and my community, I keep on bringing it back to that because I think there's so many lessons right now that you're teaching my audience, and so I really appreciate your time. Um, when you think about your day to day, and you're showing up with you're doing the morning routine to show up the best way you possibly can, and you're showing up into the courtroom, you know, I guess I'm jumping to this a little bit early, but I guess if I were to ask you, what's one word that describes the expectations that you have for yourself to show up every day? How would you explain that? Um, one word that describes the expectations that you have for yourself.
This one's a hard one because I am so hard on myself. My
Mm,
expectations are always much higher than they need to be.
mm,
So I think what my goal is to get expectations to a point where it's reasonable. Like
mm.
reasonable expectations, because I
Interesting.
don't give myself reasonable expectations. I give myself very high expectations that are outside the bounds of what I can do. So
Mm,
I'm working on shifting into like reasonable expectations. And if you're a person who needs to have higher expectations for yourself to keep yourself accountable, then it's important to have those expectations. But I hold the bar too high for myself,
mm,
and so it's hard for me to grasp at it. So
mhm,
I'm working on becoming more reasonable with my
mhm,
expectations.
mhm. I think reasonable is an interesting word, because because real quick, and I'll be completely honest with you, the reason why I asked you that question is because I recognize the high bar that you have for yourself when you show up every single day. So I did an episode, um, so a while back now, about the fact that your goals need to be ridiculous. Um,
They
because
are. No, they are. They
your goals need to be ridiculous. And the reason why I say that is because they're ridiculous to other people. They're not exactly ridiculous to yourself, right? When I think about the brand that I'm building and the mindset coaching that we're doing, I recognize the value that I could bring to an individual, and I want their goals to be ridiculous. Therefore, when we surpass those goals and you create the incredibly successful business, or you get the raise that you're looking for in your job, you're like, wow, I thought this wasn't possible, and look at me now. Was there ever a moment where you thought, because now that you're having some deteriorating eyesight, that you could no longer be a lawyer?
Yes. In the beginning, I didn't know how fast things were gonna go. So I was so scared that all of a sudden I would just like go black and I wouldn't see, like I'd go in total darkness like the next day.
Mm,
So I feel like when that happened, I created blind goals for myself.
nice.
So the first blind goal for myself was finding the support groups. The next one was getting involved with the Braille Institute and finding like my a tech specialist, finding the life skills specialist, doing, what is it, orientation and mobility.
You got it. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
new blind. I'm new blind. So yeah, orientation and mobility. So once I set small goals with myself, because originally with orient like the reason why I have to set my goals way smaller is for orientation and mobility. I was like, I'm gonna do everything with a blindfold.
Mm,
And it's like you gotta ease into it sometimes. You gotta, you can't go first day and be walking around and you don't, you're walking up the block falling over stuff. And I walk really fast,
mhm,
really way too fast. So that's why for me, I have to set smaller goals. And then I feel more accomplished like on the way. Like I have the ridiculous, realistic goals, but they're now on the back burner. So I don't feel
mhm,
as bad when I don't
mhm,
reach them right away.
mhm, mhm. That's an interesting point. So, give some background to the audience, which I don't know if my listeners know this about me or not. But my master's is in counseling and guidance, but I'm also a certified orientation and mobility instructor.
No
Um, I
way.
am. That was my first job, actually, outside of my
Hell
master's
yeah.
program. And we teach our students how to travel blindfolded. That is actually at the training center. We taught our students, or we teach our students how to travel with a blindfold on. But they're not crossing streets and doing all these interesting things on day one. They're actually just holding the cane and just walking back and forth in the hallway first, right? And so it speaks to, so now I understand a bit more about what you're saying, and now I can come into alignment with you, because I think that when I think of reasonable, I think about all the crawling before you can walk, right?
Yeah.
The jogging before you can sprint,
Yeah.
right? I'm here for the ridiculous goals. However, I think that
Yes.
I,
Yes.
I I truly believe that you gotta have the small ones first to then create the bigger goal.
Yes, yes. So I trust me, the ridiculous goals are still there. I just
Yeah.
can't put them in the focus.
Mm,
I think the best way to put it is the way I do a to-do list. So I have
mm,
like a master to-do list.
mhm,
And then on like I use a yellow legal pad. So
Okay.
that's yellow, it has lines on it. And you can flip it so it's easy to like take notes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll put the master list on a second page. And then I'll put the first list and I'll just put one item there. And then as I do items, I'm only focusing on the one item and then I cross it out. And so as I'm going, I feel good about what I'm doing. I'm getting all the goals done and I see what I've completed, but I haven't lost sight on the future, which is when I flip to that second page, the full list of all very stressful things now compiled into a smaller list that's more digestible.
Mm, okay. Okay. You know, so like I said before, I've had a prosecutor on before. I've had a couple corporate lawyers.
Boo.
No, no, I'm sorry. So I've had a prosecutor on, not in your area. I don't know, not in California, right?
Still boo.
Um, but we've had a prosecutor on. We've had a couple corporate lawyers on. You're the first, once again, the first defense attorney. But as we get ready to wrap up this episode here, I think there's something else that I don't think you are also the first one to have their own firm that has been on the podcast. So you say that these aren't big goals, but I don't know too many people doing the things that you're doing and or have done. And I know quite a few blind lawyers, right? What made you want to have your own firm?
Oh, I'm not very good at having a boss. So we had to learn very early on how to navigate the system on our own. I did work for a firm for 3 months. I was on a probationary period, but I was definitely too new for what they were looking for. I applied to the public defender's office. I didn't make it to through the first interview, and usually if you don't make it through the first interview, like don't keep applying because you're just
Mhm.
not gonna make it. So I just ended up saying, "Hey, maybe we should try this on our own." And I just let all the people that I know that I'm doing criminal defense. My husband's a bartender, so that's, where a lot of my income comes from. And so it's just having the confidence to go out and do it yourself and then not giving up when the ebbs and flows like got you down. So a
Mhm.
lot of criminal defense is like there's periods where like I'm making $0 for
Mhm.
several months in a row. Or there
Mhm.
was not anymore, but there was a time where I was making $0 for several months in a row. So you kind of have to hold out and like save your money and manage your finances to make sure that you can cover those months where you're going to have zero. So the way I've done that is because I've opened up I have one client at San Quentin and I do monthly work with him and that supplements my income in one way. And then there's another attorney where I do certain work for him, and those two things will pay my bills. So now everything that I bring in, all of the money that I bring in is going to, you know, reinvesting in the business first. That's the first thing I always do with any new money is just reinvest in the business, try a new marketing strategy, see what other options we have out there where we can get more growth. And then I do put it away for personal. Travel is really important to me. And that's a big thing when owning your own firm is I can leave. I went on a 1 month long honeymoon to
Mm.
5 different places
Wow.
because my husband has never been out of the country. I love to travel. I've been all over the world. And we went to all places I've been to because I don't care because it's so new to him and he loves it. So I was able to do that. And if I had a boss, I don't think any boss would ever say, yeah, go away for a whole month on your honeymoon and don't, get paid time off. So those are the reasons, like the safety I've given myself are the reasons why I own my own firm, is because I don't have to rely on anyone else to provide me safeties like paid time off or, restricting my travel. So it's for me, it's just easier to be on my own because of the way I want to live my life.
Mm, mm. You know, I had a business owner on the podcast a while ago. We discussed why she created her own business, and she was like, to simply put, freedom. Um,
That's a good
and
one.
and I remember another one on the podcast saying, Tariq, like, I left my corporate job where I was being so successful because I was tired of building someone else's dream. I wanted to build my own.
That's a beautiful encompassment for any person out on their own, is like you just want something for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm building here. It's definitely it's definitely a difficult task, but if you stick to it and you rely on your support from your community, you could really come through and make your dreams come true. It's just how much work you're willing to put into it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it takes, and I think we're just scratching the surface, but I want to really end here with this because there's some parts of your story here that I'm starting to learn for the first time, in that you worked for somebody for 3 months, it wasn't working out. You applied to be a public offender, that didn't work out. Um, it definitely probably took us a level of resilience, because now we're not even just talking about blindness and low vision. We're just talking about the amount of training you put in and it wasn't working out. I guess my question for you is, there's someone listening to this podcast right now that has fallen so many times and they need to get back up. What's one word that you would give us today that would just say, hey, you got to be a bit more resilient, or how to get back up? What's the one word that kept you going?
I definitely I think you said it, it's resilience. So it's resilience is one thing. I hit rock bottom at 19. I had a really tough life, before. And I don't think if I didn't build that resilience at such a young age, I wouldn't be able to be the attorney I am now. Because I had already done the worst, any like any time that I felt a failure, I was like, I've already been lower than this. And we've come up so far. Like we've become an attorney, you know, we're not in handcuffs anywhere. We're not dead in a ditch somewhere like where we could have been, based on our past life, our past actions. We are somewhere where, we get invited on an awesome podcast and we have people telling us that we're amazing,
Yeah.
and like that's what it's really, all about, is taking your failures and making them into your successes.
You know what? It's that part. Taking your failures and turning them into their successes. Because I was going to ask you, how does one even build resilience? And I think it's recognizing that you can be successful even
Yeah.
in your hardest times.
It's honestly, building resilience will always start with finding the right support groups. And I know a lot of these things should be internal, but we are not internal beings. We
Mm,
are, the epitome of social beings, whether we're social or antisocial, we still need like some type of human connection to, build up in ourselves sometimes.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that speaks to exactly why I've created this brand, why I've created this coaching programs that I have, because I want to be the support that somebody needs, helping them find the clarity, really recognizing what they want, and not only that, that they can achieve it. So I think that what you have done is really the complete model for why I do what I do. And so I want to thank you for continuing to do your getting to your dreams and all those different things and being a great example to this world, Christine. So thank you for being the defense attorney that you are. I love the impact that you're having. And thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, I'm sending you a heart. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you, Christine. We'll definitely have to do this again soon. Listeners, I hope you're able to get some great impact out of this episode. The resilience, the stories that you brought up, top shelf. And I can't wait to be able to share this with the world. So, Christine, thank you so much. And once again, this is the Speak Your Vision podcast. I am your mindset coach, Tariq Williams. And not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope. See you next time.